Good evening and welcome. I'm Bob Pace, your host on a live broadcast from Southern California. This is via Facebook and done on YouTube. This show tonight is typically what I do twice a day, 7 days a week. I talk about the child protection services with social services, and I talk the good and the bad, and I try to help you out with your questions and concerns because most of you, it seems like all the people have been talking to over 100 some people from around the country and other countries, from around the United States and other countries have one thing in common. CPS is a nightmare to work in and so forth. And so let me start off with a few housekeeping things here. We have nobody in the room yet, but I know soon they'll be coming here. The way they interact with me, and it looks like, yeah, is several ways. The first way is you can text a message at the comment section of your Facebook or YouTube, and I'll see the message. All I like you to do is put your name and what state or country you're from, and then something about your case, what you want answered. The allegations would be nice to know, and what children involves, and a little bit about your relationships, and I'll try to help you throughout the show. Now, if you would like to be a speaker on the show, and I have one tonight, but she's having some technical difficulties, but soon that she'll maybe be appearing. But we have a number right there. It says Bob Pace call-in number. That's 926-698-0990. When you call that number, you reach my personal phone here, and then I can put you live, and you speak to my speakerphone, and you can talk on this show for an hour and talk about your problems and what CPS has done good to you or bad to you or anything else. Welcome, the person just came into the room. So that is the second way to interact. A third way, if you don't feel like talking right now or be a guest on the show and you'd like to do it later, you can call in and schedule a time and a day that you want to be on. Now, I'm on 7 days a week, and I'm on at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and I'm on at 7 o'clock uh, p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so those are the days you can call in to be on the show. Now, when you call in, you want to call 888-888-6582, and you reach my office there. You want to mention that, hi, Bob Pace told me to call in to be a guest speaker, and I'd like to be a guest speaker tomorrow morning or tomorrow night or on Wednesday, next week sometime or whatever it is. You pick the time and you pick the date you on there. I'll give a message to my producer who will let me know. And just like right now, we're supposed to have a guest speaker on. It's nice to have someone else talk except for me. I mean, I do a lot of talking. I have been in CPS. I have been fighting them for, oh boy, I would say, 10, 14 years. And I've been talking to over 100 some people from around the country, Nova Scotia, Canada, United Kingdom, Australia. And then I've talked to, all the states, North Carolina, Tennessee, Maryland, Texas. And I have talked to people from all walks of life that are going through a traumatic experience fighting CPS. And that number I gave you to call my office to be a guest speaker is also a good number to call in for the person that is uh, uh, hosting this, and I'm hosting, but the one that is sponsoring this show is Vincent W. Davis and Associates. It's a law firm in Southern California. I'm in Southern California. He's in Southern California. Anyway, he's a professional lawyer. His expertise is family law, which is something that's really very, very active with a lot of you need some help because, as I always say, if you have to need open heart surgery, you're going to do it yourself, or you're going to get somebody that isn't really qualified to do it. You're going to get a licensed doctor who's been doing it for a long time, that has gone to school, had an internship and a residency for a long time, that is certified as the doctor in that specific field. Well, you have to do the same thing with attorney. Attorney is the only one that really can help you negotiate and fight CPS. They know the law. It's a scary place at CPS. You're going to be faced with reality of deception, lying, and trying to take your kids away for the sole purpose of gaining money. It's $1 billion business right now. And if they get your kids and keep them in the system, get them adopted, they're going to have that money until they're 18. And so I'm telling you to wake up out there. Not all social workers are bad, just like anything else. But I haven't heard too many stories. And over the 100 some people that have talked to me, I've only had 2 people say that they got their kids back. So this attorney, Vincent W. Davis, is giving you right now a free consultation for 30 minutes up to an hour, and he will talk to you about the strategies of fighting CPS and how to get your kids back. You have nothing to lose. You call in 888-888-6582. He'll talk to you. And after you get through talking to him, you may like what he has to say or think you may want to retain him. Now, retaining is hard because it does involve money. And his cases are bending on a sliding scale depending on the complexity and how long the case has been going on, and then what area you're in. It's like Southern California is cheaper than Northern California, and then the states go up, Arizona and so forth, going out there. But he's a very fair man, and he's a professional. He is a trial attorney, and he has sued CPS and fought them in civil matters of them hurting people's constitutional rights. So I strongly recommend you that you call 888-888-6582. Tell them that Bob Pace sent you. Make sure you use my name and that you schedule a time. Now, to find out when he's available, there's a little ticker coming across the bottom of my page that gives you a website of his calendar. So you go to that website and you'll see his calendar and you say, oh, okay, he's free on that day, he's free on that day, he's free there, he's out of state, wherever it is. But use that. So those are the ways you can participate in this show. I hope all of you that would like to comment, use the comment section. If you want to call in right now and talk live, you can. Or you can call in later. You can call that number and later schedule a time to be a guest speaker. Now, right now, I don't know what case you have or what you are troubled with. So I usually start off with a little bit about myself and my case. And it was a rough case. It was a really rough case. As far as I was concerned, we had a family that had a beautiful home, and everything was really, it was going okay, but I was experiencing at that time when CPS first started contacting me, I had regretfully lost my job in 2010 through no fault of my own. There's things that I was doing construction and civil highway and heavy engineering, and I had gotten all these public contracts, and I got all these IOUs for all these contracts. I couldn't start them because the state of California was bankrupt, and the governor was trying to be creative. And he says, well, I'm not refusing to pay you, but I can't pay you at the moment, but here's an IOU. Well, you ever try to go to the bank with an IOU from a state that's going bellied up? I mean, it's really, really hard. So unfortunately, I had to close my doors on general contracting and look for work elsewhere. It's pretty hard, though, because I was 60 years old, and a perfect storm was brewing. That was just the start of it. Earlier part in 2007, the banks collapsed. And why? Because of predatory loans. And yes, I had a predatory loan. I was, the lender was so smart, he thought he could dock you your documents and triple your salary and alter things and give me a loan for which you were really not qualified. That happened to so many people, and the banks took a hit for it. And my retirement of 30 years was gone. It was half off. It's probably say 40 years, but anyway, I've been working since I was 15, and I put a lot of money away and so forth. And so anyway, I lost half of that. I lost my job, and I was out of work. And then I was struggling, trying to make ends meet and pay my mortgage and keep my home and look for work. On top of all this, I was unaware And this is something you got to be careful about. Something called allegations. Now, how CPS works is that they um, are required by law to protect the children from abuse and neglect. This word's very important: abuse and neglect. And if they um, hear abuse or something about neglect, right away they are required to investigate it. And even though it may not be true, you're going to be guilty until you're proven innocent. Totally different how it works in criminal courts or civil courts or any other court of law where you are innocent till you're proven guilty. But in family court, dependency court, you are guilty of an allegation without substance. There is some investigation on, but they are determined to wreak havoc. Well, unaware to me, and it's been probably going on a long time with my wife and her family, but when I first married my wife, they were totally against me taking their daughter into a marriage. Plus, she was some state far away, and I was in the state out here in the West Coast. And so um, it was hard. She was a single parent with a 5-year-old daughter. And we met and we had developed a relationship over the ensuing months. And um, when we met, we didn't get married right away. But when we were talking about marriage, they were really upset. They wanted to take her daughter from her. We have children. Together, we have 6 children, 3 older ones, which weren't involved in CPS, and 3 younger ones, which were. And at the time I was losing my job, I was 60 years old. And that was a hard time to lose because at 60, no one wants to hire a 60-year-old, uh, CO type there. I'm fully qualified. And over the years, I did find some work, but they soon, with my age, decided that there's no more work for me. And that's wrong for discrimination. I hear so much politically how one candidate wants to have you reevaluated. I guess that she said 75, that all people in Congress and every candidate be reevaluated at 75. And, there's nothing wrong with age you're at. Age is a number, it's a biological number associated with the date you're born, but it's not representative of who you are, how you feel, the condition of your body, your mind, and what you can do. And that's important to know there is that you need to, if age is an issue, then you don't want to talk about it. So when people ask me how old I am, I'm forever young, and I feel forever young, and I'm determined to help others with this onslaught of what CPS is doing to parents. I mean, it is so bad. The allegations are made by professionals and by anybody else. The professionals required by law. Like one person called in and said um, that they noticed the child's fingers were burnt. And what happened is that the mother, not very smart, decided to teach the children about the how hot the stove is and took the children's turn in there. That was wrong. That was wrong. But then again, that can be corrected. It's not the end of the world. There's another equation of CPS that deals with family, um, you know, family reconvening. Wants to bring back the family together. Um, they're supposed to do family reunification. That is the goal. If there is alleged incidents, depending on how severe they are, they can do a plan that will implement maybe parenting classes or other professional classes, drug testing or psychological testing or medical testing, or whatever it is. They're posed by law to make sure the children are returned and the family stays intact. Well, my CPS workers were very vicious. They lied and they believed all these allegations coming in there. And my allegations were ridiculous. They're made by family members that are trying to alienate me from the children, alienate the mother from the children. Alienation is a powerful word, and it's against the law to alienate people. It's against the law. So if someone is trying to alienate from your children, and CPS does a good job of alienation, family members will do the same thing. A couple going through a custody battle will alienate a mother or father from their children. That's wrong. You don't alienate a parent. You need to be supportive. And when you're talking in front of the kids, make sure you do not do any yelling or arguments, because that is domestic. That's domestic violence, and it's verbal violence, but it's still harmful to the child. Nothing is more frustrating for a 5-year-old or 8-year-old to see mommy and daddy, arguing, let alone if they're hitting each other, because then that gets into domestic violence, and that's physical violence. So we got to be careful around our children. We got to make sure that we um, talk to them. We have somebody here named Ara Belly. Should I need a juvenile dependency attorney or family law attorney? Well, it depends. You know, a juvenile dependency attorney and family law should be about the same. Um, Family law is for juveniles. So, juvenile dependency attorney, what you need, and I don't know what state you are. Let me put your question up here, Arl. Ara. Um, you should get a attorney that has fought CPS and that has won cases against them. They should be able to recommend somebody that can speak highly of them, and they should know the law. It's like there's forms. There's a 388, which I'll talk about later. There's ICWA, Indian Child Welfare Act. I'll talk about that. There's different forms, different acts, and so forth when you navigate through CPS. And I know that you all are sitting there aghast. Now, Ara, Bella, what state are you from, and what is your case? Maybe I can help you further here from that. So we have Arla that just wrote a comment, and I'm trying to find out where she's from and what her allegations are. So with me, the first 5 years they were just back and forth, saying this, saying this. There's nothing they could really prove, and at first I let them in my house. I talked to them. That was the mistakes that you should never make. Never talk to a social worker. Never let them in your house. They need a court order, a warrant to come into the house. Okay, you're in San Bernardino. Okay, that county down there has a lot of problems with CPS. Okay, and then what are your allegations? What are they accusing you that you've done to your children? Um, and you know, so I was doing things wrong because I should have got an attorney. That was the mistake that I made. It's very important that you get an attorney. Again, it's like saying, do an open heart surgery without a doctor, you're going to die. There's no way that you know how to work on the heart or the components. Well, the same thing. And see, not only you have to navigate through CPS, they're corrupt. They use deception tactics. And also, did you know that all the social workers that work in CPS are not licensed individuals? They don't have special classes to take. There's no job requirements. I think they're just hired on the spot. And on top of that, right away, they're handling cases and they haven't even been mentored yet. Meaning they haven't had like 10 years of mentoring somebody who does cases so they can learn. So they're not mentor. They're not your friend. And their sole motivation is to get bonuses and keep the children in the custody of CPS. Because, like, my social worker was a young woman, she was nice, but she was really crafty. She would lie to you, which is really hard to believe there. Um, so, let me put up the other comment there by Ira. What are your allegations are? If you got them, I'll put them up. If you want to talk on the show, you can call in that number to talk on the show if you like. My office number, I have it down at the moment, but I can put it back up there. So anyway, if any else in the room, there's two people. So the other person, you want to text me something, I'll try to help you. But I was faced really, really, really hard because after 5 years in 2015, and my perfect storm was really going bad because on top of losing money and a predatory loan and losing a job, I also had my parents wanted to die. Not want to, but were dying, and I had to take care of their personal belongings because they asked me, could you take our belongings and give them to family relatives? And I said, gee, Mom and Dad, I'd like to help you out. I love you dearly, but I have no place to put them. And I have no money for storage right now because I have a very expensive mortgage and I'm trying to save my home. And so I took the belongings. At first, I thought I could leave them in front of my garage apron with a canvas tarp over them, nice and orderly, and which it was. But I have private. I live in a private community, and there's CC&Rs. There's rules that you can't do that. They told me I had to bring it inside my yard or in my house or whatever. So I had to bring all their belongings. Well, when you bring in belongings from one house that's 4,000 square foot into another house is another 4,000 square foot, you got a lot of belongings there. And I stacked the boxes as neat as I can, the furniture and so forth. But it looked kind of cluttered. And their comment when they finally got in my house this last time, when they got in the house through deception, they saw the stuff and right away. They said, you're negligent. You have boxes that could jump in the air, go upstairs and attack your kids in your bedroom. I mean, I'm saying that sarcastically, but that's what they said that my parents' furniture could do. Instead of maybe saying, hey, we'll help you out with some money and put it on the first month's rent or put it in storage, or maybe we have some people that can help you organize it better or whatever it did there. Because I was 65 when they took my children that day. I'll never forget that day. It was terrible. I had a routine pick up my children at school, and they were going to three different schools. And with the three different schools, um, they were not too far apart, but one was a private high school, and my son at that time at 15 had started a high school, and he was in a STEM program. A STEM is a science class, a technology class, an engineering class, and a math class, because he wanted to be a robotic engineer. And with that being said, he took AP classes, he took calculus, physics. I mean, he took all those high level classes. So he was smart. He was a brilliant child. And my daughter was very athletic. She loved sports. She loved volleyball. And she was at middle school, but she was having effects of the family members pawing at her to say, come live with us. You don't have to live with your dad who now no longer provide you Disneyland passes. See, that was a hard thing, is that when you lose a job, you suddenly have to face the fact that you're going to have to do a Spartan lifestyle. And our lifestyle was great because when I had my job, I made good income and I could afford trips to the mountains to go skiing, go south. I made trips to Brazil, trips to Hawaii, trips to Portugal. I was going everywhere, enjoying my 2 weeks a year with my family. We traveled the United States, a lot of places. So, with that being said, my daughter took it hard. She was a middle child, and she was 12 at the time, and she suddenly was faced that no longer could go to Disneyland. I mean, Disneyland passes I think are $2,500 a person now for a year. They're expensive, and if you get 6 passes, because we had uh, our oldest, not our oldest daughter, but well, yeah, I guess she would be our oldest daughter. She was still living at home, but she moved out when she was 25 in 2014 before all this incident was happening. And so, anyway, our daughter, who was 12 at the time, was really disappointed. And then my youngest son, he was too. I mean, he was in elementary school at 9, and he didn't really understand quite the thing it was. But it was a tragic event that I went through. Okay, Arvell has got a long story. In a nutshell, it started with my 18-month baby had skin problems near her genital area. The doctor reported for child abuse, which is, of course, not true. Let me tell you about doctors and professionals. By law, they have to report everything. And I'm surprised the doctor didn't know that it was a skin disorder. And, things are. So he reported it. Of course, CPS is going to take it wrong, especially in San Bernardino. They're going to take that case and really stretch it. They're going to think, oh my God, someone is following your child sexually. I know what's going through their mind. So they're thinking the child is being physically abused, and that's why you have the skin disorder. And so the doctor calls in, makes the claim. the CPS is out there investigating you, and I don't know how it was approached or anything like that. If you let them in your house or anything, what I would have done is if, and what I know now, because it's like Monday night quarterbacking here, but I would have got another second medical opinion. In fact, I get two medical opinions that diagnosed my daughter having skin problems. That's to protect me, and that is the way that to handle that. And so with your um, 18-month-old baby having skin problems in the genital area, um, so the doctor thought it was child abuse, and you say no, it wasn't, and it was not true, and I believe you. And that's something that you could get an attorney to help you. I don't know how many times I report that you need an attorney because they know what CPS is after and what they can do and not do and so forth. So your allegation is that now? Do you have a partner, a spouse? Are you a single mom trying to raise your 18-month-old child? And what is the CPS doing with you right now about this case? Is your child still with you, or is it with the parents of a family member? Is it in a shelter, or in a group home, or did you put them up at a hotel? Or uh, can you tell me some more information? And I don't mind if the story's long because you could come on to the show. I mean, I'll put the number back here. See that number, 626-698-0990? Well, Arabella, you could go ahead and call that number, and I could put you live, and you can tell your story. And then I'll listen, and I'll try to help you. I'm not an attorney, but I have lots of years' experience, and I can tell you to look into some things and some things you can tell your attorney if you have one. Now, I don't know if you have a public defender or do you have a professional attorney. Those are some of the things I'm trying to understand there about your case because what they're trying to do is they're trying to say, and I don't know if it was your husband or partner that fooled around with your child or what they're trying to make a case. I'm just guessing. I don't know until you tell me more information. But if a doctor says that it's not a skin problem, that he thinks it's something like molestation, that's hard because that doctor is either corrupt or it is true or what. But you need to get two other opinions from two other professional doctors, and those are the things you need to get. Of course, your attorney will tell you what to do, and then how to introduce it into the court. So, um, our Bella, if you'd like to call at 626-698-0990, I'll take your call and you can talk about your story and then we can answer some more questions on that. Again, if you're not ready to talk on this show, I want to talk at a later date, you can call my office at 888-888-6582. That's my office. Tell them that Bob Pace sent you and say you want to be on the show. Now, I'm on 7 days a week. I'm on at 10 o'clock in the morning, Pacific Standard Time, and 7 o'clock at night, Pacific Standard Time. That's 14 shows a week that I do for an hour. And if you'd like to be on one of those 14 shows, I'd love to have you. And that way, sometimes talking about your case helps you vent a little bit and help others that might have a similar case or a similar problem. Because I think I know what CPS is trying to do. They're trying to take away your child, especially in San Bernardino, because they want the money from your child and they want him to go into foster care. So I don't know where your child is. I don't know if it's in the custody of CPS, in a family member, a hotel, a shelter, a group home, or foster care. Those are some of the places they try to put children. And they take away children pretty easily. They're not supposed to. They need a court order. And anytime you're involved with CPS, don't talk to them and don't let them in your home. Even police don't let in your home. They need a court order, a warrant to come out there and investigate. And they have to have on that warrant, signed by a judge, what they're investigating and who they're investigating. So, again, you'll know that by talking to an attorney. And also, I'd like to point out at this time, we have a great attorney that is producing the show, and it's Vincent W. Davis. He is a family law attorney. He can work with you to get your kids back and fight CPS. He's a trial attorney. He's been doing this a long time. He practices in Southern California, Northern California, and all the other states, and so forth. His retainer is based on the complexity of your course, how long your how long your case has been going, and then what part of the country your case is in. And it's a sliding scale. He's very fair about that. But right now, he's offering a free 30-minute to 1 hour consultation. And what I mean by that is that he'll sit down and talk to you for up to an hour of the strategies of how to fight CPS, how to get your children back, and if you like him, retain him. You definitely won't go wrong with him. He will protect you and so forth. And that's fine, Ara. Maybe at a later date you can. I was hoping that you get there. We got 3 people in the room. That's great. Welcome in. Imagine some of you are going through a trauma with CPS. I've been talking a little bit about my case in Arabella. I'd love for any of you to text a comment in, and I can get you involved. But going back to having an attorney, contact the office 888-888-6582. Say that Bob Pace sent you, and that you want to schedule a time with Mr. Davis. Now, there's a ticket running across the bottom of the screen that gives a website for his calendar. So he's a busy man, but look at his calendar, find a date and a time that works for you, and then call up and say, I'd like to schedule Mr. Davis for his free consultation. I need 45 minutes, or I need an hour, or I need 30 minutes. And they'll schedule it for you. And so just make sure you tell them that Bob Pace says so, because he'll know that you came from my show, and that either talked on the show or made some. So you say you're married to a baby's dad. We're together. We both have a job. She's usually with a babysitter. Okay. There's a comment that I missed there. So Ara says you're married to the baby's dad, so that's a good thing. We are together. That's a real beautiful thing. And we both have a job. You probably have a nice home. And so, can you tell us a little bit about what has happened with these allegations? I mean, have they found any proof or found anything that that is doing something about that? So, um, anyway, um, my case was. I wish my case was substance abuse, or I did drugs, or something that I thought would be something easy to correct. Instead, my case was full of allegations by my family, my wife's family, and they're so hard. They're first in another state. They're calling into the social worker every day, and for 5 years they're doing that, and then eventually they got. Now, how they got into my house and saw my parents' belongings, and how they grabbed my children, is that I allowed them to. I did not know the law about that. I tried to stand my grounds. I tried to fight with them through letters and emails, but it wasn't until I got an attorney, Mr. Davis, who helped me get my children back. Now, he got back 2 of the 3 children. I lost my daughter. I lost my home. I mortgaged my home to, well, I didn't mortgage my home. I took, money from my home to help finance this case and try to get my kids. My family was my number one importance. My wife and my children and my family. I wanted to make sure they always are fed, had a roof overhead, had clothing, and good education. I was a dedicated father, and I still am. Right now, um, my 2 children, or actually I'd say 3 youngest, because I hear from my sons that when they meet with their sister, that she and my 2 sons, they're still going through traumatic experiences being involved in CPS. It is the most traumatic experience to be involved. It's something that you really um, can't comprehend. I was talking to a guy this morning from Alaska. His name was Uno, UNO. And he involved 4 children, 2 different wives, and he was a military vet and so forth. and he wanted to get back in touch with his children. And he was going through a nightmare where he had to live in a tent in Alaska. He won't last long like that, but he was determined, and so many of you are, and that's really important. Don't give up. Keep fighting, but don't say anything. It's yes, no answers. And something that's real important that I found out that we all should do, and he really did a mouthful, is that you should have a notebook, and in there you write down when an incident takes place, the time and the date, who is involved, and what was the incident about, and then you write the fourth thing, the outcome. And you keep that in that notebook so that way you can reference it 2 months later, 3 months. These cases aren't over in 30 days or 6 months. Mine, you know, started in 2010. I really had my children to 2015, then 2017. Two of my three children were returned. And since 2017, I've been fighting CPS and try to share my story with other people and try to give back and everything else on that because I don't want you guys going through the horrific experiences. It is so horrific, this agency. They're so distrustful. There's no transparency. The money they get from their children is no accountability. That money, they do ridiculous things. Like when my son was taken into foster care, he had they bought him 100 pairs of socks. Okay, we're living in a decent bedroom. Okay, all right. Ara is talking. We're living in a decent two-bedroom apartment, pretty decent neighborhood. Unfortunately, we're living from paycheck to paycheck and can't afford Vince right now. I'm sorry to hear that. I know it is really, really, really hard. And if you don't have any family that can loan you the money or have some property that you could maybe take some equity out of it, the property, or have some savings. I use not only my equity out of my home, I use the well, I didn't use the equity. I sold my home. That's why I did it. Lost my home, a home that had taken almost 59 years to work for. It's my fourth home, and it was my dream home. It was the most beautiful home, and it still hurts me to today because these monsters, these social workers, were so bad. They got a hold of the police department, talked to the detective, and said there's extreme danger to children living at my place. And they duped the police and used them needlessly, and the police were bad too. I hate to say it, the police and the government. It seems like, is there anybody good out in government or police? Social service has been a bad agency for me, and it shouldn't be. We were born here, and unfortunately, maybe we hit some hard times. So we should be able to get help from sources. Why do people from the outside get better help? Medical, food stamps, you know, cash aid, work programs, shelter, clothing, schooling for their kids. They come to this country to get everything. We have open borders. And those open borders were closed 4 years ago. There was a wall being built. Now the Democrats are trying to raise a motion that says, hip hooray, we got a solution to it. Well, it's a quagmire because they attach to other politics. So social services are now spending all their time and money on people from, and I'm not against that. But what happened to the way we became uh, an immigrant came here? We're all immigrants. Even the Native American Indians are an immigrant. People don't really understand. They're the first immigrants. They came over the land bridge up in Alaska, settled in Canada, settled down in North America, moved their way south. And of course, the Spanish were exploring. So they were going through, Mexico and South America and stuff. And so you started to have the Incas, the Mayas, the Mexicans. You had all these different things where the Indians and the Spanish. And the same thing there. We were also, Europeans were immigrating to the United States. The Vikings did before the Europeans, but Vikings are Europeans. They're from Norway and Denmark and Sweden, and they were going over into England and Scotland and Ireland and so forth, and they were going to Iceland and Greenland and Vineland, which is Nova Scotia area, and they were coming to the United States long before Christopher Columbus He never came to the United States, but for a long time in our schools we thought, oh, Christopher Columbus is a nice guy, and we should thank him for discovering America. But we're all immigrants, and when we came here, like the Pilgrims did, the Jamestown visitors, those things back there, we all developed a thing called a common language, and that happened to be English. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's easy to communicate. Um, it's easy to communicate with these um, with each other. And so we were settling in the United States. The only problem is we abused the first immigrants, the Native American Indians. We broke treaties and really hurt them, and it got really bad in the 1800s. It was really sad what they did. They almost destroyed the Indians. There are few of them left, but that should lead me into a thing called ICWA. ICWA stands for the Indian Welfare Child Act. It happened in 1979. A law was passed that social workers that handled the child protection must first see if the children that it alleges are on is a Native American Indian or has some blood as a Native American Indian. They're required to inform their parents, are your children of Native blood, Native American Indian blood? If so, they're supposed to contact all the tribes that are associated with that blood. And you don't have to be registered. If you think you are or anything like that, they need to contact the tribes. So you tell them the tribes and so forth. And it does work. It does work. But what happens, instead of your children being stolen or enslaved by CPS, they are given to the tribe, and the tribe themselves help your children. They're not after money. They want to help your children. They want to help whatever case the problem may be or anything like that. They take it on. They're on their own land, and we can't. Federal government can't go on their own land. They're reservations. Um, I have some Indian blood, and my tribe is at the Rosebud Reservation, South Dakota. It's Lakota Sioux. My great great grandmother is a full-blooded Lakota Sioux. And so we tried that too, but CPS lied and duped. They never really did a thorough contacting. I tried to through Lakota University and some other places nearby to find out if I could register my children. Everything they kept saying, "What is your great great grandmother's Indian name?" And I don't have it. I have pictures of her. I have pictures of my great great grandfather, who was a Viking. He was from Norway, Bergen, in Norway, and the Lakota Sioux woman was his fifth wife, and they lived up there at the Rosebud Reservation. And I guess since then, my family members have been trying to hide anything with the Indians because they thought Indians were savages, no good people. And so I tried the ICWA thing. And so if you have Indian blood or can be registered, look into it because they may be a better system than um, I'm trying to think of this the right word, but a better way of getting your family back together because they take care of their own. It's really kind of nice there and so forth. Um, anyway, that's ICWA, and so that's something there I'd like to tell you on that. Now it seems like we um, um, going to move back on. There's that form, the 388 I mentioned earlier. That 380 is a petition that you use to get something into the court to change your existing plan. Let's say you have new evidence, such as you completed your drug substance classes, you've been tested negative for a year. All those attachments you attach to the 388, that will make changes. So anytime there's a change to your current plan, you use the 388, which will help you with introducing new evidence and come up with a new plan. That plan can be modified. It's not in there permanently, and you should be aware of that. The plan is something that is modifiable, and the 388 is the form you use. Again, the attorneys know about it, and I have talked to people on the show. One guy was from Maine; he knew about it, and so It's a form using to change the current plan, like you may want to change where the courts are and so forth. I don't know if you have experienced judges in the courtroom, but my judge was terrible. His background wasn't in family law. His background was in how cars are damaged and how to fight auto claims. That's his background. He's going to reunify my family. That was a joke. He was a complete loser, and I honestly say that I was disappointed. Also, one of your rights are you're supposed to hear your case in its entirety, and they in our area in Southern California, when I went to dependency court, we were told to wait outside and stand around, and then they'll call you in like with 1 or 2 minutes about your case. And it's usually to say, well, this is what we decided, sign on the dotted line. It's so funny. They're going to ask you to do all kinds of things. It's like someone told me the other day about a PSA, and a PSA is a professional agreement between two parties. It's very binding, so do not sign a PSA agreement. Um, it's a professional service agreement. P stands for professional, S is service, and A is for agreement. And you never want to sign that because you got to be careful. You never want to lose your educational rights or your medical rights to your children. Do not try to negotiate. They're going to use tricksters' ways. You think you're doing so good. Oh, you're going to see your kids the end of this month. Then soon enough, they'll change their tune and suddenly extend another 6 months. Or you're seeing your kids with monitor visits or without monitor visits, and so you need monitor visits. They violated my constitutional rights because I didn't see my daughter when she was kidnapped or enslaved by them. She never saw me. She saw her mother on visits, but they got worse and worse, and there were monitored visits where the point she was convinced she was alienated from her parents. Oh, I don't want to see my parents. And a 12-year-old is getting a lot in the courts. I don't think they should be allowed to divorce their parents or have rights at 12. I think they should wait till they're 18. And I think that the social workers should be qualified and trained to do what they're doing. They are giving away. I mean, they are taking your children and doing awful things to them. Um, so anyway, I'm not sure if our bill is still in there, but um, I understand about the paycheck thing. Hopefully, you have a public defender that is yeah, they can turn your life upside down. There's no question about that. Yeah, you're already still here. Glad that you're still here. Um, they can turn your life upside down in yes, they'll do it so fast, Ara. They will do it so fast, and the deception, the lies. You never expect to hear this from somebody. Um, right now, we're in a tormented world right now because uh, they're overkill on protecting our kids. Now, I agree. Right now, we have a social problem with our teenagers and using social mediums like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram. I mean, there's all these different kind of social forums, and there's no restrictions. In fact, it was interesting to see all the CEOs before Congress explain to them why they have no protections for their uh, for the children that goes in there. The problem is they're allowed to see porn, they're allowed to see so many stuff, and it's wrong. And they're given a phone when um, they're given a phone when they're in elementary school. Why do you need a phone in elementary school? All you do is you open it up to the kids to go on the internet and go to the dark side of the internet. And we've had numerous killings at high schools and anger. People are bullying other people on these social medias. There was one case where a young boy had sexual pictures shown on the pages, broadcast over, and he was so bad he killed himself. There's girls that have killed themselves because they were said they were ugly or something like that. We as parents have got to be involved with our children, and we as parents got to restrict them. Take away the phones. put restrictive ways of viewing the internet. The internet is a useful tool, but also can be a dark side tool that gets you in a lot of trouble. We have such a bad case right now where I live of children being abducted. We're the number one site for young children to be abducted and sent overseas to be sex slaves, prostitution, slaves of homes and stuff. And your child's gone. 1 minute the child's here at 15, next minute it's over in China or different parts of the world. And it's terrible. The sex industry and everything like that is really, hurt our children. Children are not, that's why they should wait. They're not there. That's why we have laws enacted about smoking and drinking and so forth. So we as parents got to be a little bit more disciplined and educate our children. We shouldn't do what they do. Um, so my case, I don't know if it really has a happy ending. My wife and I are still hurt every day that we talk about our loss of our daughter and seeing our boys who are not doing too well right now. One boy, though, he's graduating as a senior in his school, and he loves sports. He loved football, and his team won the national championships for the second time in 3 years. So he's really happy with that, really proud with that. But I know that he hurts at times. One of the things that was terrible in these situations they put him when the detective followed me from me picking up my young son at school, and he followed me for quite some time. He used deception techniques. He had a black and white pull me over. I stopped because it was a black and white, and then he comes out of his unmarked car and says, "I want you to follow me home." Never saying, "Hi, I'm so and so. We're investigating," or nothing like that. That is deception. You're entitled to know what you're being accused of. I should say, write me a ticket or what am I accused of because I'm not going with you back to my home unless you have a court warrant. And like a fool, I followed him. It was sad. And I'm sitting there, and there are, you know, 3 social workers, 2 code enforcement, 5 firemen, 2 uniformed policemen, and the detective all standing in front of my yard demanding to come into my house like I had something terrible going on in there. And there wasn't anything. They abuse the power. They say that social workers can go in the house if there's extreme conditions or latching. But my children were at school at the time. There was no furniture attacking them. There was no boxes attacking them. There was no report of harmful or anything like that. They were solely doing that because my wife's family was insistent that something was horrible to those kids. They wanted those kids. They wanted those kids so bad. So they were put in a shelter the first night, and the shelter wasn't protecting them. The shelter is next to a prison. It's next to the dependency court. It was bee infested in the play area. They were overcrowded. The food was terrible and it was dirty. That's protecting your children. That's protecting your children. And the group home was just as bad. It was being run by Boys Town with Boys Town's principals, but Boys Town is for boys and girls that don't have mothers and fathers. But when you have a mother and father that love our kids, are willing to do anything if something's wrong and be corrected, they're willing to do that. So instead, they had a young guy and a young girl that already had a baby of 1 or 2 months. Well, I should say I think 1 or 2 years old, and then she was pregnant with another child. How are they going to take care of 6 children? It's a lot of work to take care of children. So the group home, my son was abused in the group home. He was punished because he drank too much orange juice. They were taught not to hug your parents, put your hands aside, and not see your parents. And so I never saw my daughter when she was 12. They refused to let me see her, and it's supposedly her request. And it's so weird because a year ago we had spent a weekend moving my dad's belongings, and she and I were really bonded close. And she said, "I love you, my daddy." And I have to remember those things. It's a heartache to have your children taken away from you, wrongfully taken away from you, and then a forest of a program where these social workers are playing games with you, games with your children. I just think it's horrible what we're doing with that thing. And unfortunately, if you use a public defender, they give you his caseload's heavy. He'll have 20 or more cases, and he's not going to win. It's a game they play in court. The judge is palsy wells with the social attorneys. They all go to golf or they play, they go out to eat or something like that. It's like a little clique or a club. That's why they don't want you in the courtroom. They don't want you to see what goes on behind the scenes. They shuttle people out so bad. It's like a cattle place where they bring cattle in to get slaughtered. And it's so bad. And they're really crowded. The courts are with that. And yes, let me say one thing: CPS is necessary, but they need to be controlled. Judges need to be elected. This is election year, so make sure you go out there and get a qualified judge to serve in that court. And I mean qualified. If the court is a traffic court, then you want a judge that has traffic experience. If it's family law court, you want a judge that has family law experience. So you have a right to vote this year, not only for the presidents and all the other things, but for judges. So it's really important that you vote for the judges this year in November, and that you get judges that are capable of taking care of the cases that have the experience and so forth. And so um, we need to do things like social workers need to be qualified. They need to have a license. There's got to be some quality controls, and they need to be transparent. We need to be accountability. There has to be a board that oversees the social workers, making sure they're doing their jobs. I've seen the same thing carry over in the food stamp program, in the Medi-Cal program. There's so much abuse and so much things that they lack on, and so it is a real hefty thing you have. But the most important thing is not to give up on your children. Don't give up the hope that you're never going to see them, even if it looks bleak. Just try to say no yes answers to social workers. But try to get that attorney. I just don't know how much I want to impress upon that attorney saved my family, and it's like a doctor. If you don't have a doctor to open heart surgery, you're not going to survive. And the same thing goes true for attorneys. And we have an attorney right here that's producing the show. His name is Vincent W. Davis. He's a family law attorney with years and years of professional experience fighting CPS, and he's won. He's gotten children back. He's a trial attorney, and he's also fought them on civil matters of doing a lawsuit against CPS and won their case. And he's offering a free strategy meeting. 30 minutes up to an hour, he'll talk about what he can do for you fighting CPS and getting your kids back. He'll strategize with you. And he can reach at 888-888-6582. Call in, say that Bob Pace sent you. So it's important that you have a lawyer in your court to help you get through it. Um, I'm telling you, you need to have it. If you have a public defender, he's not doing anything, get another one, and another one, another one. Some guy told me he had 37 public defenders. Finally, he found one that would work. The same thing goes with the venue. If you want to change the venue, the judge is bad, you can do so there. There's ways you can do things about that. So I strongly encourage you to think about what I'm saying about getting an attorney. And if you like him, retain Mr. Davis. He will save your children and get them back. And I know right now it's really hard with the hard times. Cost of living is high. It seems like there's a lot of politics going on. Our borders are open. We're inundated with millions of people now, and we're being taxed to the max. We're $1 trillion in debt. The United States government is $1 trillion in debt. So we got a lot to do on there and so forth. The world is not a happy place right now. There's countries that insist that they want to overtake another country. We can't seem to live in peace anywhere. And it's true about our homes. Our homes, our families are very important. We're not born in this world with a manual of how to raise kids or how to do relationships. So you need to love your spouse, your partner. You need to have a loving family. You need a home and a job to take care of them. And then complete all the programs they say to do, because you will get your kids back. but keep your eyes and ears open and be very, very careful to believe anything with them. So, uh, um, reaching our time on our show. We've got over an hour tonight, and I want to thank you all for listening. And I want to thank Arabella sharing her side of the life. I hope you come back, Arabella, and can share more. I'd love to help you on that. But be safe out there. Um, good luck with the new year. Much success and happiness. And um, I appreciate um, having this time to try to help you. Um, it's really a hard thing you're going through. I feel for you, and I want to say God bless you, and good luck with your endeavors. And I'll see you tomorrow morning or tomorrow night or whenever you want to. So I want to uh, wish you luck in your endeavors. God bless you, and I'm going to say good night.